Good morning, beautiful people. It's morning here in Denver, but if you're in Hell, Norway, or if you're in Romania, or if you're in Australia, or wherever you are, it could be a different time of day for you. But you know what? It's a great day to be victorious. So I welcome you to my show, Be Victorious, and I encourage you to share this video because today we have an amazing guest who's going to teach us one, how to be victorious, and two, how to be toxic person proof. Isn't that amazing? Stay with us for 1 second and I'm going to bring back Sarah. Good morning, Sarah K Ramsey. How are you?
I am great and excited to be here. I was like jamming out to your intro music. That's great.
We gotta dance. We gotta, I love energy. To me,
Yes.
energy is life, and life is beautiful and it's incredible. I'm so honored to have you here, Sarah. You're amazing. I want to start by that, and I wanna ask you. Do you remember how we met? How do we know each other?
So we met through my dear friend Ken Walls, and I believe I was on his show, and you were commenting on my, he and I were talking, and you were commenting, and that was our first introduction. And then since then, you have been a part of my second book launch and some of this other stuff. So it's a small world, and it's a good world. And technology allows us to continue to connect and meet really cool people we never would have met 100 years ago. It's just a really neat way to live.
It's so awesome. I love that. Yes, technology is like bringing us together. And Ken Walls is just such an amazing person and such a mentor. And without him, I wouldn't have known you. So I'm grateful to have him in my life. And where are you in this country? Where do you live?
I am currently in Tennessee. We're in Florida quite a bit too. So sometimes people are confused about where I'm from. But currently, I am in the great state of Tennessee. But I'm going to tell everyone it's not that great because our traffic has increased so much because everyone keeps moving here. It is beautiful. Yeah, the east side of the state is beautiful. And Nashville's more in the middle. It's so fun. You have the blues in Memphis. And so there's still a lot of land here. And so it's interesting. The home values have like doubled, the traffic has tripled, and you have to get a reservation 2 weeks in advance now to be able to go out to eat here. So people everywhere are discovering how great it is.
I feel you. I'm in Denver, and we have the same influence of people coming from California. So when that happened, Denver became just suffocated. We really, just like you're saying, you have to have a reservation to even go out to a movie.
Yes, yes.
It's happening. And so your journey started there. I know that you love to play piano.
I do. Yes. I started playing piano with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star at 4 years old, and then went on my undergraduate degrees in piano performance. So I stuck with it and, all those years. And I don't get to play as much as I would like to now, but I do meditate and I do yoga. But there is something about sitting at the piano. It's like its own meditation that just I go into flow, and sometimes meditation, I'm like thinking about this or thinking about this. And piano, and if I'm playing, it's like I'm really truly in the zone, and that idea of meditation. So I just love it.
And it's beautiful. It's the sound, the music. I agree. I wish I would know how to play piano. I don't. I grew up in a family where we had to work, and I know you grew up in the family and you got to travel a lot, right?
Yes. So we
Have
did.
you been to Romania?
I haven't been to Romania. My parents probably have. It was interesting when my husband and I met. He said, he was like, I like to travel. And I was like, I like to travel. And from Tennessee, you never know exactly what that means. Sometimes people could say, oh, I like to travel. And that was spring break in college a long time ago. And you're like, I don't really think we're talking about the same thing. So he said, where's the most interesting place you've been? I was like, well, either Brazil or Israel. The Dead Sea in Israel is gorgeous. you would not think. Yeah, I don't know if I thought about it. I never thought of Israel as pretty. Hi Scott. But the Dead Sea area is just gorgeous, and
You
just so much
couldn't believe?
history and culture and archaeological digs, and then Brazil. I love the warmth of the culture. So when I met my husband, I said, "Oh, that's where I like to go," and he said, "Oh, I like Switzerland and Australia." And it was really what brought us together, is kind of a very global world view. You know, we love where we live, but we work with people all over the world all the time, and getting those ideas and helping people from everywhere is just really important to both of us.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah, I see that. I see how amazing your work is, and I hear you and I follow you, and I know that what you do is so important, and I respect that, and helping others. But um, we, you're. I'm going to talk about your book. I'm going to
Go
go.
for it. Yes, yes.
Here's the book that.
You want me to hold up mine?
Yes, there we go. This book, Sarah, this book changed my life, because we are such, we're good people, and being good people and being just always seeing the best and want to believe the best in everybody, we tend to oversee the fact that there are toxic people. So how do we recognize toxic people?
So toxic people, well, thank you for saying my book changed your life. It is always completely humbling when I hear that, and it was really interesting when I did my first book. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't scared. I was just like, let's just see what happens. It'll be fine. And then I've had so many people say, oh my gosh, like this completely changed my life. And I'm like, oh, whoa, okay. It's really interesting with the second book, and the responsibility I feel that I didn't feel in the first book. First book was just kind of like, let's just see what happens and see how it goes. And then, once you're known as a home run hitter, it's different to gear up for the second home run. And I'll talk about that later, but it's been really interesting personal journey. So if anyone is out there and they're trying to be victorious and they're afraid, me too, as I put out this
we all are.
Yeah, it's scary, and do it anyway. Do it anyway. But thank you. And so with toxic people are, you could see my personality switch. I'm like, okay, now let's dig into it, right? So toxic people are masters at image management and blame shifting.
Oh my God.
And there was a meme I saw, I didn't put it in my book, but my other books on toxic people, I will put this in. And it said that nice people don't pretend to be mean sometimes. Right? Nice people don't pretend to be mean. If you see someone, you're like, oh, I didn't expect them to act like that, or it's like a mask fell off. Please be aware that that is really their true personality, because we all have bad days, right? So that's not what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about just like you see someone and there's this evil in their eye, or anger, or you found out they were lying about something. And it's really important to recognize that if someone's nice, they don't pretend to be mean sometimes, right? So if you see something that really seems like a blame shift or something that doesn't align with their public image, that is probably the true person. So that's where the caution light needs to go on. Okay. And what happens is really good, nice, kind, loving, forgiving people, that's where the green light goes on. Oh, they had a bad day. I need to go help them. And I have a 2-year-old neighbor who keeps getting bitten by another kid at school. Multiple instances. So this isn't, I think I bit kids is lots of kids bite, I'm not saying anything about this kid, but this kid is 2. Okay. And there is a boy at preschool who also lives in his neighborhood who has bitten him several times. And he told his mother last week, he said, hey, can I go play with this boy that's been biting him? And his mother said, why in the world would you want to play with someone who's biting you? And he said, because maybe if I'm nicer to him, he won't bite me anymore. This child is 2 years old, right? His parents did not teach him that. Okay. And I want to say that for two reasons. One, to help us forgive ourselves, right? If you, like me, like so many others, like the people who were fooled by Bill Cosby or Bernie Madoff or Hitler, or, we are all in good company, right? And I know it can be really disheartening and you could feel really stupid, like, oh, I can't believe I missed that, or I can't believe I put up with that. And so I say that, is this 2-year-old boy dumb? No, of course not, right?
Right.
He's thinking kindness is the answer, and kindness is the answer in many
In
circumstances.
normal circumstance. Yeah.
But kindness is not always the answer. And when another story that I think brings home this point, I have a dear friend who suffered 5 miscarriages, and she finally she adopted a boy, and she wanted to name a child John Lucas, and she adopted a boy named John Lucas. So it's just meant to be. It's this wonderful. She's actually pregnant with her 3rd child now. So she had 5 miscarriages, thought she would never have kids, and she ended up getting John Lucas, who suffered terrible abuse his first 4 or 5 years of his life.
Mm.
And now she's pregnant with her 3rd kid. So it's all a happy ending for sure. But we were talking about parenting, and, I have kids who are biological, right? I was there with them when they were in my womb. I was there with them in early childhood, and she wasn't. She got John Lucas at 5. So to apply the same parenting advice to both of us, you can see, I use that example to say, like, you can see it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily make sense. Like, it's normal and good. And she describes it as her parenting advice is on a different island. She's parenting her foster child a bit on a different island.
Yes.
She's parenting her biological children. She still loves that child. She loves John Lucas. I love John Lucas. It has nothing to do with that. But there's different rules to be played, right? There's different things to think about. There's different circumstances. And please remember that story when it comes to toxic people. Okay. Definitely not calling John Lucas toxic. I want to be very super clarifying about that.
Yes.
But when she said that she goes, I'm parenting on a different island. It was like kind of a wave of understanding washed over me. And so if you have someone who is a master at blame shifting, master at image management, exhibiting toxic behavior, I do think kindness is the answer most of the time. But when there's toxic people involved, we're on a different island. Yeah. And there's different rules on that island that we really need. It doesn't have to change who we are in our core. We can still be kind and loving and giving and forgiving. We just don't want to be so naive.
And allow them to continue to manipulate and all that stuff. Do you think they know they're toxic?
I do think they know, because they know who to do it in front of.
Oh.
And
only do it to people that accept their behavior.
Yes. Well, how many people where you might be arguing with someone, or they might be acting a certain way, and then they like flip a switch. And as soon as they walk into a different room, or their boss calls, or they recognize they're not alone, it's like they instantly change personalities. Okay. And that's how you can really tell who the toxic person is too. If they can flip a switch that easily, that is let's see how big we can make this red flag. Like, I don't know. How can I? Super. Yeah. Make it really, 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 really big. Because if there's 2 people fighting and one person is still like obviously distraught and they're upset, they are reacting to what has happened. If somebody can just turn it off and manage their image that well, that's 99% of the time the one who's toxic.
What? Wow. You just flip some switches again in my mind. But why do we allow them in our life? Why do we continue? And I know sometimes we're, let's say, married to somebody for 10 years. And then after 10 years, we come across your book and we realize, oh my God, I've been married to this man for 10 years. And now I see that all his behavior, he doesn't just drive me nuts. He's actually toxic. Mm-hmm. Why do we allow them in our life?
there's a lot of people who are going to answer that question in regards to self-esteem, in regards to codependency, in regards to early childhood stuff. And I want to point that out and say, please notice that is not how I'm answering the question. Sometimes those circumstances can be true, but there's one of my great passions is to impact people who may have grown up in great, been successful in tons of other areas, and then been shocked to find out they're in a toxic relationship. And we were talking about me playing piano earlier. And when I couldn't play a song by Beethoven, I practiced more. And I put more time with my butt on the bench, and I practiced more scales, and I worked harder. People who aren't good at math, what do they typically do? Stay after with the teacher, get tutoring, practice math. Then they get better. When you're building a business, you put in the work, you figure things out, then it gets better. And that's what I call either smart girl syndrome or smart guy syndrome. Now, what's crazy is this makes you successful in every area of life that doesn't have to do with toxic people, right? Remember the two islands we were talking about, right? If I work harder, I can make it work is a fabulous island in regards to business, piano, math, writing, whatever. It's a terrible strategy in a toxic relationship because toxic people want us to do all the work.
Wow. Yes.
So when they say, great, you're doing the work and I'm watching you do the work, this is wonderful, right? And we're over here thinking, okay, well, I need to work harder. I need to be responsible. I need to be conscientious. I need to do my part. And I get so emotional every time I talk about it. I can feel this wave, just the sheer care I have for you. If this has been you, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like, you're not dumb. You're not stupid. You're not codependent. You're not broken. These same areas that have made you successful in playing the piano or building the business or writing the book are what the toxic people use to keep you hooked. And
and you just give and give and give and give and give and give and give, hoping that they see and they change. And do they change?
So I'll bring you back to the 2-year-old. Okay. So in Romania, did you learn to take turns when you were very, very early in childhood? Did they talk to you about taking turns? You had to take turns with your sister or brother, or take turns with the ball in the playground, or?
I think so. I grew up in a very hardworking family, and playing and friends was not very easy, thing to do, because we just had to work and work and work. Mm-hmm. And my playing was mostly by myself. My sisters were much older, and so I didn't get to play with them. And I was always the one giving. I was always the one. I did have a very good friend who lived on one level below us in the apartment building. And I always, now that you ask me, the thing that always bothered me, when she would come over to play with me, when her mom called that she has to go home, she was just up and going, and my room was a mess. If I would go to play at her house, if my mom would say it's time to go, I couldn't leave her house before I picked up all the toys and her room was clean. I always had to clean after her too.
Which is a great example of one of the clearest ways I can describe toxic relationships is people who are not willing to play by the same set of rules. Right? Yes. So that's a great example.
I always give.
Yes. In a healthy relationship, you take turns. Like, the rules are the same. Okay. When we finish playing, we clean up the room. Right? In a toxic situation, when it's good for me, you clean the room. When it's good for me, I leave. But if you're nice and kind and loving and giving, it is baffling to think that anyone would think that way. You're just like, what? The rules are I win every time? Surely no one thinks that way. but we see it happening, and we see it, probably when you were playing, someone, or when you were at school, someone was saying, we're going to take turns at the front of the line. We're going to take turns with the pencil sharpener. We're going to take turns with the pencil, the pen, the art. Like, that's a pretty basic human concept. Like, are we supposed to take turns? Yes or no? And people will say yes. But if within a toxic relationship, they think it's always their turn. Okay. And if at 5, when they first went to school, 5, 6, 7, they go to school and a teacher says, you have to take turns with the book. You have to take turns with the chalk. You have to take turns with whatever. But then they're 56, 57, and they haven't figured out how to take turns. You let me know if you'd bet your money on this person changing. Right. And
Yeah.
that's why I like to use that example, because so many people when we're in those situations, oh, if I can just find the right therapist, if I can just find the right medication, if I can just, and you're really hoping to change someone's personality, like, not, it's their character, it's their personality. It's not just an off day. If they think it's always their turn and they have no problem winning and making you do all the work, that's, yeah. Changing.
Yes. But so they're doing this, and they know they're conscious. They know that's what they're doing. Really, what's their goal? Why can we just shake them and bring them back to their senses and be like, hello, listen, just come back to like the normal sense of human beings. What's their goal? What really is it? Just
image management, blame shifting. Going back, image management. I want to look good. I don't want to be good. I saw a meme recently and it said a narcissist, and I use the word toxic on purpose because I think diagnosing people who are probably never going to the doctor is not necessarily productive, but narcissism is the big search term right now. So
yes.
Yeah. But it said it had a car hitting a tree, and it said the narcissist said, "Oh, the tree ran into me." Right? And I laughed so hard because that's always their go-to, is that flip. Like, well, it's your fault. You should have worked harder. You shouldn't have said that to me. I would, even to the extreme of, I wouldn't have had to hit you if you hadn't back talked me. And so it's always the other person's fault. That's just the way they operate. I mean, they have no idea. There's so many thoughts behind it. Is it shame based? Is it just true? Is it lack of empathy? Are they a sociopath? And the real answer is they don't get treatment. Like, they're not the ones going to get help. So a lot of what we know about these personalities comes from their victims, and I hate to use that word, but people who've had an interaction with them going in and talking about it.
Right.
It's not them saying, oh, yeah, I'm a really bad person, I want to be better, so what can we do? And when we're trying to cure cancer or work within cancer, the patient is going in and saying, these are my symptoms and I want to make it better. So you can imagine how difficult it would be to cure cancer if you took someone in for cancer and they said, well, I don't have cancer. And then they're just guessing, well, do you have a symptom here? Do you have a lump here? Do you have this? Well, I don't have cancer. I don't have a problem. Right. So you can, to get even more information on this topic is so difficult.
Yes.
But it's also really simple too. Right? Are they going to change? No. Do they want to? No. Is there anything you can say to them to make them change? No. Right. So it is very simple on our end. We just don't like the answer, and I don't like it any more than you. I don't like it any more than you.
At the same time, we have to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
We have to really, do we just cut them out? Do we block them? What's the best way to protect ourselves from a toxic person?
And that's, again, I go back to what so many people are saying is just like, yeah, just no contact, cut them out. And it's like, okay, what if you have children with them?
Yeah.
What if it's your mother? What if it's a employee, someone you work with? So there are certain circumstances where it is easiest and best and right to go no contact and cut them out and give them the least amount of access to you. That's definitely it doesn't probably feel like the easiest answer, but it really is the easiest answer. What gets tricky is when you can't just cut them out completely.
Yeah.
So if you're minimizing access to you, okay. Are you familiar with intermittent fasting at all?
Yes.
Okay. So intermittent fasting, I don't really do it. I've hit and miss on it. Yes. But it's really good for you. My neighbor does it and she'll say, it's not that I'm denying myself the food. I'm just delaying myself the food. And of course, I bring everything back to the toxic person conversation. So I was like, okay, we can use this with the toxic person conversation. Okay. So many times just denying access to you is the right answer. Okay. Especially if it's a romantic relationship and, you can get out. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. But otherwise, we can kind of delay access to us, right? So if it's a toxic person at work, you send an email rather than going by their office, right? You try to talk to them in a group setting rather than an individual setting. If it's a family member, maybe you show up to family gatherings, but you don't go out to individual lunch with the toxic mother. And see how that goes. I really do try to give people options other than just cutting everyone out of their life. Because sometimes that's just really hard, especially if there's kids involved or a family member or, a workplace situation, but really trying to protect yourself by not being alone with them, having strategies ahead of time of like an exit strategy, written communication, and really thinking about that communication being business-like, right?
Yes.
You're in the business of raising kids with this person. You're in the business of working with this person. You're in the business of a family dinner with this person, right? But you would not emotionally throw up on someone in a business setting. I hope not. Oh, you're the worst. I can't stand you. Do you know what you did to me? You're such a narcissist, right? I've never seen that work.
Yes.
There are a lot of things I wish would work when it comes to toxic people. There are a lot of things I wish would work. Okay. We know it doesn't. Okay. So really business-like, okay. So can we meet at 3:00 or 5:00?
That's such a great advice. Such a great strategy to transform the relationship into a business relationship and let the emotions out, and then you're nice to them. It's not cut out and it's not blocking. But sometimes, I blocked toxic people after I read your book. I blocked the relationship. Done. I was done.
Yeah.
But speaking of the book and in your book, you talk about blind spots.
Yes.
Do we have blind spots when it comes to toxic people?
Every single person has blind spots. And one author I really respect is Bill Eddy. He's got a lot of gray hair. He's been doing this for a long time. I'm not sure how long, but he has written 17 books on the subject. He is a lawyer and a psychologist or a social worker or something. I don't want to misquote him. He's done therapy training and legal training. He runs the High Conflict Institute with a fabulous lady named Megan, who's also I've interviewed. So he's probably like one of the ultimate toxic person proof people, right? He doesn't use that language, but when you think of somebody who's written 17 books on this subject, dealt with high conflict legal, he's done training for years and years and years. Okay. He and I had an interview with him for my podcast, Toxic Person Proof, yesterday. And I said, one of the things I like about you so much is that you talk about when you are dealing with a high conflict personality, you recognize your blind spots and you stop and you have someone else read the communication if you're really triggered or inflamed or whatever, emotionally inflamed, set off. And I said, I know this sounds silly because you've been doing this so much longer than me, but at that point, I said, he knows what he's talking about, right? And I said, I don't want that to sound insulting, as if I get to decide what you, because he's been doing this forever. And I said, I don't want that to sound insulting, but that's how I know you know what you're talking about. And we just
Right.
had a great conversation around this subject, because people who were like, Psh, I would never end up, I would never let a toxic person bother me. I can always spot toxic people a mile away. There's zero danger of me falling into a toxic situation. Both he and I were like, those people have no self-awareness. They are in the danger zone. Being toxic person proof is having that self-awareness of like, whew, man, when someone acts badly, my body has a reaction to keep me safe. So how am I going to handle that? How am I going to have self boundaries, not just boundaries with other people, but self boundaries and self wisdom to say, okay, these people push my buttons. How am I going to respond? How can I respond in that business like, polite manner to not let my emotions get in the way? And I just had such respect for that conversation when I read that. It is just like, man, people who really are toxic person proof are using that language. They're using like, there are toxic people. They make you crazy. Here's how to take that reset before responding to them. Anyone who's saying, oh, I would never, I can spot them a mile away, I would never fall into that, are actually much more vulnerable, because they don't have that self-awareness, and they're
Yes.
going into it in a naive. I mean, I think we were all, I'm not calling Will Smith or toxic or any comment on that, but that's a situation that happened very recently that we were all pretty surprised by. Most of us were like, oh,
Where did that come from?
I didn't expect to see that, right? And so when you're aware that people can behave in ways that you just still have your eyes open for it, you're going to be able to keep yourself a lot safer than if you say, oh, I don't need to have my eyes open anymore. I've got this.
Yes.
That's the real danger zone.
That's not going to happen to me. Well, guess what? It will happen. And it's really how you react to it and what you do about it. Yes. And yet, toxic people are such a problem, which makes me ask you about your next book.
Okay, so my next book is on problem solving and decision making.
Oh my God. That's awesome. I can't wait. When is it out? And speaking of that, where do we buy? I think I bought this on Amazon.
Yeah, you can, if you Google toxic person proof, you can get on Amazon, but there's lots of Books a Million and thrift books and, all these, lots of options for.
This is your website where people can reach out to you and find you. And is this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And you're going to see a shift in the website soon, because I'm really moving into the problem solving and decision making space. And I had a lovely lady who came to me about becoming toxic person proof. And she goes, you keep telling people that you're doing this new thing, but you're not doing anything new at all. You've been doing this forever. I don't even know why you're saying that. I said, I know. But from an outside perspective, if you think of me as the toxic person proof girl, and I'm also adding problem solving and decision making into it, it seems, for some people, that seems different or new. And she goes, that's not new. I said, yes, because I'm really big into solutions for complex problems and complex personalities, which is exactly what I've been doing this whole time. and helping help people break down their problems into bite-sized chunks, finding areas that they can control, finding areas that they can do something about, using a method I think is the most effective with toxic people, which is called around the house. May I tell your people about around the house?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a problem solving strategy with toxic people. And let's imagine you get an invitation to a backyard barbecue. So you get out of the car, you go to this event, you're probably going to knock on the front door. That's kind of what we do. We're supposed to knock on the front door before we go into someone's house. But now let's imagine the toxic person is behind the front door and they say, well, I'm not opening it. No one wants you at this party. You're making it up. You didn't get an invitation. All the lovely things that toxic people do. And if I stopped you in that moment and I came on the front porch with you and I said, what problem are you trying to solve? You're probably going to say, I'm trying to get so-and-so to open the front door. So what I do as a coach is take a step back and say, no. The problem you're trying to solve is getting to the party in the backyard. not getting the toxic person to open the front door. Let's figure out how to go around the house. Maybe we have to climb the fence. Maybe we have to climb a tree and jump in. Maybe we have to get cheerleaders to build a pyramid so we can, maybe we helicopter in. Maybe we skydive in. But with nearly every problem, there's several creative solutions that we can do to get what we want. But in that moment, when that person won't open the front door, our brain shifts to, this isn't fair. They should open the front door. And they should. I agree. They're not going to, right? So how do we still figure out a way to get you what you want without getting the toxic person to change? And that could, or the toxic situation, you could use this same method for anything frustrating. Like, I'm sure lots of people were frustrated when schools shut down, with COVID, or, a snow day. We have snow days. You have snow days, and probably
snow days. Yeah.
Well, you could have a huge event at work the next day, and all of a sudden snow comes and your kids are home. Okay.
Go.
Right. So that could still be an around the house solution. So what the problem you're trying to solve is how you can effectively work that day. Okay. Not, oh, it's so unfair. School closed. School shouldn't close so often. It didn't snow enough for them to close schools, right? And you can see how people get so distracted.
Yes.
And so that is what the next book is about, is skills like that, really simple solutions for how to make decisions, how to decide to stay or go, or start the company or not, or leave the company or not, or exit the friendship. We are all faced with, it's many sources. I can't find the original source of this, but there's 100 sources that say we make 35,000 decisions a day.
I believe that.
Right?
Yeah.
We make now this is from Cornell University. We make over 200 decisions a day regarding food alone.
Wow.
Right? How much water am I going to drink? This is smart mushroom ground smart food coffee with healthy collagen instead of regular coffee, right? Am I going to do dairy or almond milk? Am I going to heat up my coffee or drink it cold, right? And so no wonder we're experiencing burnout, decision-making fatigue. How many of us, I know we both have very different backgrounds, but I was certainly never taught how to make a decision. And those of us who were taught how to make a decision as kids, our parents did not grow up in the information age. They were not making decisions with all the information we have at our fingertips. So now, how many of us are in overanalysis paralysis? Right?
Or afraid to make a decision. I have so many people I know people that want to start a business. They want to do something. They want to get their life better, and they're afraid. Speaking of toxic, people, they're afraid to get a divorce because they think, what am I going to do after that? And making decisions, regarding toxic people and regarding the problem that they have. There are a lot of people that are afraid to make that decision. But I gotta share a secret. I already read your book.
You did. You read the first version, yes. Though I had it. I am. Yes. I'm quite sure this next version is improved, because I had a lot of people who read the first book in it, and they were like, "Sarah, your first book was funnier. I think you need to be funny in your second book." So now my second book is funny too. I've adapted it in much in the style.
I love
concepts.
I love the fact that I could share, and in fact, I think you wrote in the group that it's good to share with kids. Oh my gosh, what a change it makes into helping my 10-year-old who could be going to school and have problems because this child wants her to do something and she just doesn't want to do it. The expectations of each other in early age is so great. And Alma is just such a good kid, and she has that good heart, and she gives because that's what she sees me doing. And I'm working on making her realize that she can give up to the point where she's comfortable, but then she has to put herself first. I love that I could share the problem solving with Alma, and it was good for her not only to read but to understand problems. There's kids that don't know how to deal with problems, and then they become adults and don't know how to deal with relationships, and they become employees or business owners and don't know how to deal with problems, and it just becomes a disaster.
And if I may scream from the rooftops,
Yeah.
it's getting worse. Like, I want to say, I think there were some things about your childhood that felt very hard, but there was an independence and a work ethic, and you were expected to figure out some things that were a real gift to you. My childhood, my dad was a pastor. And so I was going to funerals all the time, and I would be like in the hospital and someone was about to die. And I understand from the outside perspective that might be a very odd way to grow up, but there were certain things, and like understanding the significance of life, and how crucial it was to make an impact here. There were some things that it taught me, right? And our new world, there's employees are so frustrated with the lack of problem solving that's happening, and the lack of independence, and the lack of understanding, is this workplace toxic, or am I just supposed to work? Like, I'm screaming from the rooftops, it's about to get worse. Read the problem solving book, because, and I think this is so important, because the people who I've been working with in this concept are truly victims, right? They are victims of abuse, victims of toxic relationships, but they don't have a victim-y mindset, right? Really bad things did happen, and they're becoming their own best problem solvers and decision makers. And it is something I want parents to be able to teach their kids. Like, yep, but I am so sorry that bad things happened to you. Here's what we can do about it. I wish I could make it all go away like a magic fairy wand. I wish, we didn't have problems in our business. I wish we didn't have problems in our world. Of course, that's what we want to give our kids and our employees and whoever is in our world, but we can't. So we have to give them thinking strategies to thrive and remain happy and productive. And we're not talking about just working yourself to the bone. I'm talking about, what's exhausting? Being confused, walking in circles, feeling anxious because you don't know what to do next. I'm not, it's good on the other side. It is good over here. People say, you seem to have more time than everyone else. And I said, I do, because I'm spending my time on problems that have solutions.
Amen. Oh my God. You're just, yes, I love you.
Oh, thank you.
Also coaching, right? Are you a coach as well? So you're writing, speaking of your book, when is the book coming out?
It's coming out in September. So maybe you can throw this back in September. We'll put the links and stuff in it. So I definitely are happy to come back on and talk about that book again in September. As you can tell, I'm just a tiny bit passionate about these subjects. I'm just like, if you, if I could just put this in your brain, your life will be so much better.
You are, Sarah, you are doing it because people that read your book are really truly feeling your teaching, your emotions. You're you're making a huge difference. And this is a book that is easy to read, and it doesn't feel like a lecture. It feels like a teaching. It feels like my sister Sarah is telling me what I need to do. And so with the new book, I'm sure it's gonna be even better than that, because that's who you are, and you are absolutely moving your brain from you to us, your readers.
And that's definitely what I wanted to feel like is, we're just sitting on the couch. I'm like, oh my gosh, your life could be so much better. Can I tell you how I can make it better? It'll be so much better, and just this really loving,
yes,
passionate way, because I see so many people lose years of their life in either toxic situations or indecision, or feeling like there is no solution to their problem, when really they just need to go around the house. There's totally a solution. We just gotta go over here, and just the gift that it can be for our kids, for our team. I really have been scared about this book. It's not just like a, and January and February, I was just so sick. And it was like, my assistants were like, oh, are you self-sabotaging? I'm like, I might be. I'm so scared about this book. I want it to be as good as the first one, and
amazing.
thank you.
Great.
I feel good about it now. I'm not so scared now, but I have wrestled with this book. I'm so passionate about making sure I'm saying it in a way that's easy to digest and implement. So I wrestled with this book, and my assistants, they were my little team. They were like, Sarah, you're taking like a lot of hits. Like, you're really sick. Like, how you doing this? I said, everything's easier than solving a toxic person problem, and I did. And it's like, you can move forward, you can have energy, you can focus on problems that have solutions. And I'm just, oh gosh, life is so much better on that side. And my clients are getting that all the time. They come to me usually over a toxic divorce and leave with a raise or a promotion. And people are like, what's happening? What's happening? And it's like these problem solving strategies and, not wasting time and energy on venting or things that you can't do anything about, but really like, okay, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Here's the decision I need to make. How can we move forward as a team? You just get so much momentum in your life, and it's really good.
It is really good. Scott said he's going to need a reminder in September to go buy the book.
Absolutely.
We'll have Sarah back here, and we'll have the book, and we're going to talk about it even more. And we're going to talk about problems and how we solve them, and maybe get some insight. I've been trying to find a solution to some toxic people in my life, but just have to not make that change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People are here.
And I'm going to go. So what I would do in my brain, right? It's like, okay, so what problem are we trying to solve? Is it a emotional problem that you feel guilt that you can't do anything about it? Is it a legal problem that you have toxic people? Is it a communication problem that maybe if we reframe the communication, things can be slightly improved? So that kind of gives you a snippet into what my brain does when I see that question. And I instantly, I talk about taking it from spaghetti to waffles. Okay. So there are toxic people and I have problems. Like that's like all, could be all over the place. I'm Scott. I'm not, this is literally what I do. Right. And what I had to figure out, I didn't read this in another book, so I had to figure out my own life. And so when you see that, it's like, okay, so what problem are we trying to solve? Is it to figure out the blind spots? Is it to figure out a plan to implement? Is it to figure out is there an emotional problem to solve? Where it's like, oh, but you can't be that mean to your mother, can you? Or whatever it is. And just breaking those problems into just crystal clear clarity to turning it from spaghetti to waffles. So it's like one little bite-sized chunk. Okay, here's the emotional problem. Here's the communication problem. Here's the logistical problem. Here's the legal problem, right? And implementing so you can create action plans around that and move forward faster.
Yes, we hope that helps, Scott. You gotta keep us updated. How did you
right now read the first book? There's all kinds of answers in there.
This is gonna help, Scott. This book is going to help you figure it out and do it instead of trying, because trying is lying. We gotta do it.
Yes, Nike had it right. Just do it. They really did. Yeah. And with Scott, like the front, I'm trying to figure out what's going to be on the front of the book. Right now, it's very likely there's going to be like a bullseye and like hitting right in the middle. That book's on Amazon. The Toxic Person book is right in the middle, because it really is. If we are trying to solve a legal problem with a communication problem, or a communication problem with a guilt problem, or an emotional problem with a practical problem, that is where I'm seeing so many people lost and scrambling. It's most prevalent in toxic situations because toxic people try to scramble it for us, right? But that's why my people are getting promotions and raises and all this kind of stuff, because it's like, whew, like clarity of thinking. Okay, yes, no problem. Here's what we should do. Click, click, click. Okay, moving on. And in a fabulous, fabulous way. So really, I say just do it, but we want to figure out the right thing to do as well and get that real bullseye sense of like,
Oh,
right
yeah.
there, that's where it was. Now we're a winner, and I was
I
going back
love
and putting a maze or a bullseye. Now I'm swinging back to the bullseye. We'll see.
I love your new book. It's incredible. I'm super excited to have it on my shelf.
Oh, thank
And
you.
just share it. And I share this book with a few of my friends and my team, and it's incredible. It's amazing. Everybody needs to have your books. Um, are you taking new clients?
Yeah, yeah. So I work with clients in two different ways. I have the toxic person proof stuff, where helping you reconnect with what's right with you, become toxic person proof, and design a life you're excited about living if you've had a toxic person encounter. So I've definitely been doing that. And I'm also implementing workshops and strategies on this new decision making and problem solving technique too, whether you're trying to use it for your employees at work, for leading your kids, leading your team, and leading yourself. And I know when I say it's like a time management technique, people are like, huh, but it is like the time management technique people are not talking about. We can literally not make more than 24 hours in the day. But if we are spending 2 hours making a decision and we can take it down to 20 minutes, or 2 years making a decision and we can take it down to 2 weeks, or 2 hours. I mean, this is life changing, right? And all it is getting a simple strategy for decision making, so you're not always confused. Where's the bullseye? Where's the target? I don't know. What problem I'm trying to solve? I don't know.
Yes.
It's like the toxic person saying it's over here, but maybe it's over here. Like, you hear that spaghetti confusion in people's lives. That I'm just so passionate. And within the problem solving and decision making, if I can get people really clear on what problem they're trying to solve, gaslighting doesn't work, right? When the people have that confidence of decision making and problem solving, I know it's kind of my around the house way of protecting people against toxic people as well. Because if you are clear in your brain and somebody tries to gaslight you or blame shift or, pull the image management, it's like, no, I mean, this is another way of becoming toxic person proof, but it'll also save you time and quite a bit of anxiety.
It's not, and working with you, it's like it's having somebody to guide you, man.
Yep.
Sometimes we just need so many times. I feel like I even tell this to my friends. I wish I would have somebody to just tell me what to do. I just need somebody to tell me, okay, Theodora, if you do this, this is going to be your result. And I don't want to have to make a decision. I don't want to have to think about, I just want somebody to tell me what to do. And I think, yeah, it's life.
It's life, but with a strategy of and practicing that strategy of, okay,
Yeah.
what do I need to do? Chick, chick, chick. Okay. If I do this, this is most likely. Okay, here we go. I mean, that's all we can do, right? Because none of us, I think we grew up thinking there was going to be a crystal ball, like to predict our future, that grown-ups somehow had this manual that the rest of us didn't have. And this is my humble attempt to build people up in a way they can be their own self-guided manual through that decision-making process. And I think that's what great leaders are going to do. We have this thing about being a good listener, which is obviously important, but helping people become great decision makers, not making their decisions for them, because we know that's not going to work, but guiding them through decisions in a way that can create clarity and kindness. It's life-changing. It's just life-changing.
Yes. And so are you in our
life. Thank you.
Thank you. I could sit here and talk to you all day, but I know we have things to do and I don't want to take too much out of your time, because then you're going to send me a big bill.
Yeah. I've got 3 more of these interviews today. So this is like a day I'm doing several of these. I worked out this morning, did my admin work, and now it's the interview time. So I love it.
Before we leave, I want to make sure that we mention your podcast, because I know your podcast goes. I mean, I have friends from Romania that I talked about your book to my friends, my family, and I have friends in Romania who are listening to you. Your podcast is global, and so what's the name of your podcast? How can we listen to you?
It's very easy. It's toxic person proof as well. And I did it all on purpose. And when you think about being bulletproof, like we want to keep ourselves safe from bullets, right? And so toxic person proof, keeping ourselves safe from toxic people. Same idea. So it's kind of like your little bulletproof vest as you go through life, your little toxic person vest as you go through life. And yeah, if you Google toxic person proof, it is. It's like I'll get messages. It'll be trending in countries I did not know existed. And I'm like asking my husband, I'm like, what country is this? Like what is this? And and I'm just humbled. I mean, I just don't really have words. And that's it has impacted so many people. So then this next leg of the journey with problem solved, decision made, it's like, okay, I got to do a really good job. I gotta help these people, and just excited,
I'm excited for you, and I'm honored, and I'm so grateful that you came to teach us how to be victorious on such a difficult subject to talk about and recognize. And I really truly appreciate you, Sarah. It's the time is flying away, and we have to end this. But I want to come back in September.
Absolutely, sure.
And talk about your new book, and where did we where are we compared to where we are now, and just update the new book a little bit. Scott Ricard is wishing us
so much, Scott.
Thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing. Scott, put this on your wall so that we can help a lot of people becoming toxic person proof. So important. Yeah. Sarah, you're the best.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Stay with me for 1 second. I want to talk to you. You guys, oh my God, what a life-changing conversation with Sarah. This book has to be on your shelf. This book is going to change your life just like it changed mine. And Sarah is incredible. Follow Sarah. Go on your website. And if you need to work with Sarah, she's available and taking new clients. I appreciate you watching my show today, and I will see you next time.